Welcome to What Have You, featuring Rachel Jankovic and Rebecca Merkel. This audio is brought to you by Canon Press. Before we get started, I wanted to make sure you knew that a featured guest of What Have You, Nancy Wilson, has a new podcast called Femina. Every Friday, Nancy shares a quick, Bible-saturated devotional that covers all matters of the Christian life. You can find the Femina podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel.
Guys,
we're the long-lost podcasters.
Failed you. But
we
don't
failed
worry.
ourselves.
That's what I was going to say. Don't worry. You're not the only people we failed lately.
There's been a lot of letdown.
We've been spreading the fail all around. We've been offering it to many people.
Our aspirations are on one column of the list, and then
our
things
achievements
we actually got done.
Our
on
achievements,
the other side.
it's like, no, we're not. It's not coming out strong in that way right now.
We did get together. It couldn't have been last week. I was out of town all last week. The week before that, we did get together.
We did the kind of episode that we felt it would be more of a gift to not post the episode than to post that episode.
It really was not good. I don't know.
I was a guest on a podcast the other day, and it reminded me of how recklessly we podcast. Because, when it's like...
Other people are organized.
They felt so organized, and like, do you want to do another take at that question? Or
do you need to gargle first?
Is there anything we should... Right, is there anything we should edit? What should we... And I was like, wow. If you edit things, good on you, but our only form of editing is to throw the whole thing away.
And it was bad. I can't remember what we were talking about or why, but it just was...
I think it was just uber boring. I think it was just... Because we came away with assessment that we should not ever do it when we're like
in the late afternoon
doldrums. But
look what time it is.
Shows you how well we learn our lessons. But today we're more energetic in the late afternoon.
But we could squeak it in today, and weirdly, we haven't been able to lately. There's just a lot of... I don't know. What is there a lot of?
I think it's actually... I think everybody I think everybody's got to be feeling this way, which is that a lot is happening right now, but it's a lot that is in none of the normal categories. Like, nothing is really on autopilot because everything is weird. I was just telling Becca that we had in our local police report that a phone call came into the police to report people with balloons and a gift going into another house without masks on.
Oh,
and
my word.
I think that if anything is more surprising in a turn of events than us, it felt like it took no time at all that we were living in a completely different society.
Yeah.
Like, things just are different. And it's really weird because it makes everything something you have to think about. I've autopiloted my way to the grocery store for years. Like, going to the grocery store does not require anything of me.
No.
Now, it requires all kinds of things of me, and things that are not what I like.
Well, I'll tell you that we were on a little hop, skip, and a jump kind of trips last week. So, from Monday to Saturday or something like that, we hit California, Florida, Georgia, Nebraska. So we did get to have a little look-see at some different corners of the country.
How it's going in assorted places.
And I'll tell you what's the weirdest is that in California, the hotel we stayed in was like, we can't have anyone clean your room because COVID. Can't do it. So, and
is it sort of like, also, we won't wash your towels because we're saving the planet?
Yes, but it was sort of like, we can't send anyone in there, which is very funny to me because in one sense it makes sense, but I'm like, because the virus knows if you've left town now or if you're coming back later. Because they do send somebody in to clean after you leave.
I wonder if they're giving it like, or what on earth are they thinking?
I don't know. But so in California, it was like, we can't clean your room. We go to Georgia, they're cleaning your room just like normal places, but they cannot give you a water bottle because COVID. And you're like, what now? And it was really funny because you can go buy a water bottle. They're not running out of them. It's just they can no longer provide it to you because of the virus. And so then, it was just really funny, and then other places, they're fine giving you the water bottle, or even like on the plane. It's sort of like, how if you get bumped to comfort or first class, up there behind the curtain,
the COVID is less of a concern there?
No, because they'll give, they give free drinks, beer or wine or spirits. Well, now, can't have spirits because of COVID. We can offer you beer or wine. I mean, it was just so funny. And it's like...
It must be a different kind of causal relationship to COVID.
You know what it is? Ben was pointing this out. He's like, no, the thing is that his example was in college, like, accrediting and stuff. The ultimate goal is you're trying to measure how good the classroom is, which is actually hard to quantify. But there are other things that are easily quantified, which is things like how well is the syllabus laid out.
Right.
Now, we all know that how well the syllabus is laid out really bears hardly any relationship to like how well the teacher communicates in the classroom. But you could measure that. So the
focus is on measuring that.
Yeah, many things are done to comply with a list of rules that actually don't. Anyway, he was like, no, the thing is, everybody has to just demonstrate that we're taking this very seriously and we have removed the water bottles. It's a visible thing you can do to say, see.
Yeah, we had our cousin is getting married this weekend, and I am a bridesmaid. And I'll tell you.
Yep.
As I have already told you, Becca.
You have. You've spoken about it.
Some things you don't feel too old for until it's upon you and you can't believe how old you are for this. That's what I had told Luke recently, is I was like, in some ways I feel like I really should not be done having babies, or like I shouldn't.
Yeah.
More like I feel like I'm too young to already have 7 babies. Like you just feel like I can't feel like I'm actually at this phase of life. And then I was like, but what would really make me feel my age right now if I was to get pregnant? Then all of a sudden I would be like, you don't understand. I'm a grandma, basically. And not that...
We'll just call you Sarah.
Yeah, exactly. Being clarifying for everyone, I am not pregnant. So you don't need to call me Sarah. But my point is that it's like the funniness of just realizing... As much as it feels like something I've done recently, it's actually been like 17 years since I've done anything like that.
A time or two around the sun.
It has not been something I've been really focused on lately. But I tell you this because we went to a local restaurant for the bridesmaid dinner. A local restaurant that will not let you inside. You can sit on the patio. Which they also said 8 people can... be there. We have 8 people. So when the reservations were made, that was
the number.
What we were doing. Yeah. But when we get there, there's a table for 6 and a table for 4. And they're like, never the twain shall meet because COVID.
You're like, but we've all traveled here in the car.
And it was like the most officious and ridiculous time of like us saying, well, why don't we'll just move the chairs and all of us will sit around this one table if you don't want to move the table because it's against your principles. No, we can't let you. We go look and it is posted everywhere that they're saying 8 guests. Also posted in this is their little phrase that they put in there, this is not meant to be punitive.
Whoa.
And you're like, what? So the pizzeria is trying to assure us that they're not punishing us? Like, just be clear. We're not here to punish you. But you know what's so funny? Is I thought that phrase was hilarious until you encounter what they were doing to us. At which time you realize, no, it was straight up punitive. And we moved the table back apart because they were worried about it. And some industrious fusser comes out of the restaurant and drags it further away. So we're all just like, this is madness. Like, what a weird time. Yeah. And I think I'm just having to think through stuff that used to be, like, one thing is that the importance of it is, like, I think Christians can think it's so important that we wear a mask so that we communicate that we care for people. But the reality is that wearing a mask does not communicate anything. Like, you have to communicate something. And if you have to wear a mask, which we do for a lot of places in Moscow right now, like, to try to not be unkind to the private business or whatever. Exactly. If we have to wear a mask, it's hard to try to figure out how to communicate past the mask. Yeah. Joy, kindness, kind of friendliness, lack of fear. Like, there's so many things that it's much harder, but it is also very important that we not think that the mask communicates Christian love, which it does not do, guys. It does not.
No, it could. There's a sense in which it could, and there's plenty of senses in which... No,
I don't think that the mask might be part of someone communicating Christian love. My point is that the mask communicates absolutely nothing if you are not communicating that. Right. And because in our particular location, the mask police and the fussers and the town bullies that are reporting birthday parties.
I think what's interesting now,
and little kids playing soccer. Got the cops called.
Got that happening. The thing about it is, I feel like it reveals that there were a whole lot of people who were very unpleasant before this
and had nothing to do. They didn't have a handle for their rudeness.
Oh, I'm sure lots of people had experienced their rudeness.
I told you that when
their children had, I bet their coworkers had, I bet their husbands had.
Exactly.
But suddenly now they feel very vindicated and taking their unpleasantness out and about.
Yeah, that's true. And I told you that a lady at the grocery store told me that she's like, there's a lot of people that I used to like, that I thought we were kind of friends. Like, I've helped them for years. And now they've gotten out all their inner secrets for everyone to watch and be like, you're not my best, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that they are letting it all out in a funny way where it's kind of like...
well, that now we see what has been in your heart.
What's been in there all this time.
And what's been in your heart is rude thoughts about families eating together at the park.
Horrible metaphor.
Okay, do it.
Let's bring out all the dark secrets. No, so we had grabbed a while ago an extra fridge to keep on our back porch for overflow when I'm doing a big event or whatever. Well, for whatever reason, it blew out and didn't work anymore, and it was like, shoot, because we had another event coming, and it was like, I think it was just in one of those times where it was back to back to back, and it was like, drat.
Now we don't
there went the fridge. But it was out on the back porch, and I bet you this was a winter phase where you're just not out on the back porch. You're not spending time there. And it's a fridge, and I didn't have any reason to go out and open it up. Well, it turned out there were some leftovers from the previous event in there. And somebody, an unfortunate person, when it was cracked it open and was knocked over by the stench within. But the thing is that I feel like that's what's happened.
Some of us have been keeping our leftovers in an unplugged fridge.
It's been there all this time, and then somehow this just cracked the door, and now we all found out what was going on. I mean, it's just really funny because I feel like people who are patient and long-suffering and charitable and gracious and kind, sure, they're going to have temptations during this time to worry or to, there's going to be plenty of temptations, but hopefully
but
those
they haven't.
temptations
They maybe
will
have
reveal.
not been. But hopefully you haven't been letting things fester at room temp. That's
exactly.
you know, like there's
exactly
because we're in a real time of festering at room temp.
we all just got to see what was behind that door, you know. And
I love when you've had a big crowd. When I've had a big crowd over, and that sometimes it takes a while to clean up the main drag, right? You know, like there's quite a bit of cleaning up to do. So by the time you clean up the whole main drag, you kind of feel like you've handled it.
Yeah,
but it can be like 5 days later, you walk into a different room and you're like, who was eating pie in here? Like, why? I had no idea. I remember that happening at Mom's old house with the basement room, because I hadn't been going down there to like go down. I just hadn't been in there. And you feel like you've wrapped things up, and then you're like, you're telling me there's been a lemonade spill in a satellite location and nobody mentioned it? And I forgot to look. And
I know.
Altogether, we failed in every way about this.
In all directions.
That was funny.
I know. So, anyways, I think the main gist is that this is a big chance for everybody to try out their fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah, well, one thing that I would bring up is, you know, that whole thing about how time actually does pass faster when you're older.
Okay.
That your perception of time, it goes by much faster.
Yeah.
And that's because it has been proven. How much do you all like it when people say that kind of thing right now?
I know. Because science has shown it clearly.
Science,
not that science.
Not your science, my science. Like, just whatever.
Not that doctor. This doctor.
We don't like your news station. Our news station says science has settled this. It's the most tedious thing ever.
It is a big, bad squabble town.
What struck me as interesting about this is that they were like, you don't remember things that you do on autopilot. And the older you get, the more things you can do on autopilot.
Sure.
Which is what I was saying about going to the grocery store. Right. Is that I will probably have more memories of being at the grocery store in COVID than I do for the whole 15 years before that when I spent a ton of time at the grocery store. And their reason is because you actually are self-consciously making decisions and doing things self-consciously. And I think that is a thing to recognize. It's kind of mixed because it's fatiguing. Because you're making decisions about things that you don't feel like you should have to think about. Like,
totally.
I should be able to just do this, not digging deep here on the mental journey about doing it. And so anyways, the point, the reason I bring this up is that there's something so healthy for us in having to actually think in a real fundamentally Christian way about the things we've been doing on autopilot. You know, like, and for many Christians, having to go back to, like, it's actually a thing that you need to work through before the Lord about going to worship. Or what does it mean to go to worship? What does it mean? Is it the same thing to listen to a sermon? Yeah. And I have heard from women who have said that they're, like, super discouraged because all of their friends, like all of their mom friends, are like, this is so much better than going to church because we just turn on a movie for the kids and we don't have to get dressed and we just listen to a sermon. We don't even have to hassle with like going to worship or like trying to.
There's something very Wall-E about it.
It's very scary.
But you know what I mean?
Wall-E the movie?
Yeah, you know, like
it's True Confessions. I never actually watched Wall-E.
I don't remember anything except for the enormous fat people in like recliners drinking huge. Like everything's automated. Everything's like they're all. I would need to revisit.
Well,
but it's like all these people just blobbing around, and it's.
Well, I think that's the thing, is that this challenge can make you either spiritually more lazy or spiritually far more fit. Right?
But I think
like your options here are either to deal with the fact that you have to think through things. You have to be like, what is a Christian response to this? What glorifies God? What is a good witness? What is the, like, actually working through it? Which should actually really make you more spiritually fit, in the sense that you should be living a far more actively engaged with your spiritual life. Or it's making people do this, where they're like, I never thought church mattered much anyways, so...
That's what I was going to say. Like, I do think it is revealing how people did think of church anyways, because this has obviously been a deep sort of trouble in America, is we think worship is for our own personal...
Entertainment.
Well, it's like to fulfill me. Like, I look for a church that makes me feel
meets my
welcome.
needs.
It meets my needs. It's the worship experience.
And they have
I prefer.
They have good programs.
They have good light. They have a great worship band.
Or they have people who graduated in the worship arts.
But it's like, I feel like people review churches like the way they would review a movie, really. Because we think of it as this, like, select your own best experience that you like the most. And not thinking, what is worship for, and am I doing it right? Like, is this about bringing glory to God?
Are we honoring God in how we're worshiping?
Is my amusement and enjoyment just automatically what honors God? Because of course it is.
Right.
So I think that
what God likes best is me not worrying about worshiping Him.
But now that we've all gotten the mood to, like, live in pajama pants from here on out, I could see a lot of people feeling like, great, this actually makes church
easier
even
for me.
Better. Yeah, because I can just kick back.
Even easier.
I can check my email.
And I have to say that you cannot be a Christian in this time and not think that God is doing the things right now. And so in a lot of ways, I'm really so eager to see what is He doing, like what is happening. Yeah. But and of course there's elements that are so tragic and so heavy, and so, like, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, this is the time for God's people to be living in total trust of Him and that He's in control, and how can we glorify Him in this?
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that it's interesting. I was telling Ben this the other day, that, you read the Old Testament, everybody understood that when a plague came, they were in trouble. And it was like, quick, look around. Whose fault is it? What have we done?
Oh, my word. And it's almost like we still do that. It's just that everyone's like, it's the conservatives' trouble, or it's the leftists that got us in trouble.
Yeah, sort of. But everybody in the ancient world seemed to understand that they were in trouble with God. Even that's actually the whole premise of the Iliad, is that they've all been struck with the plague. And so they have a council to say,
fix the problem.
Which God did we offend, and how did we do it, and how can we fix it now? Like, how can we appease the wrath of God, or what did we screw up, and who can we, get to make restitution for it? And I just don't see America asking that question,
No.
of like, what sins, God, do we need
Lord,
to repent of?
Tell us what we did. But that's the thing, is that we don't need to ask the Lord what sins we did. We know them.
I'm just saying,
time-o.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of people refusing.
Right, but they're
steadfastly.
doing the thing where they are plugging their ears and la 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 la. Yeah. Don't look at it. Don't notice what's happening.
I know.
Make it about something else.
So embarrassing, because I'm like, when even the ancient Greeks thought to look about themselves and say, have we done wrong? Then, why is this Christian country of ours, missing that newsflash? Like, could it be the millions of babies we've been killing? Could it be that we've been sinning against heaven?
It's God loves our... I don't even know what we think. Yeah, He's really proud of our acceptance and our rainbow flags and our...
Yeah.
And but this is the thing that's really interesting. Dad said in a sermon the other day, I thought it was, a couple weeks ago, he said that about, we lose, if you make something idolatrous, if you worship money, God will take the enjoyment of money from you. If you worship sex, God will take the enjoyment of sex from you. And he was like, and we are living in a culture that has worshipped reason and has lost our minds.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so true.
True.
The fact that people have yard signs in Moscow that say, science is science and love is love.
Science is real.
Oh, you're right. Science is real and love is love.
Yeah.
And something about water.
Yeah, water is life.
Water is life and Black Lives Matter. A little catechism
amazing.
for the
but
ages.
The other thing is, how obsessed have Americans been with health? And,
right, I know.
And then behold.
Dun, dun, dun,
We're still obsessed with health.
Yeah, we can't. But one thing that what I was thinking too, is telling Lucas that, it's one of these things that in recent memory, we've only made life less risky.
Yeah.
So we've been on this risk trajectory where there are now cancer treatments that might work. They might not. It's still risky, but it's less risky than it was, right? To find out today that you have some kind of cancer is less risky than finding out a long time ago. Or we've made cars safer. We're always honing in on the new airbag format to keep it safer. And you think of things like polio and stuff, vaccinations and health foods and all, like
childbirth.
We've been on a decreasing risk trajectory, and that this is a moment where we might actually be living through an increasing risk that we actually don't have control over. We don't have a handle on it.
As if we're not God.
It's like it makes you start to wonder if we aren't.
It makes some people start to wonder.
One begins to ask the question.
To think about
One starts to wonder, is it really? Yeah, anyways, my point is, I just think that is partly one of the things that we have to recognize is that people are holed up in their houses like it's impossible for us to have any increasing risk that we might need to just live in a riskier world.
It does feel like, when the Philistines took the ark and then Dagon fell
flat
over,
on his face.
I feel like the American idol of health is Dagon, and we're lying there a little smashed up at the moment, not on our pedestal anymore, looking glorious the way we were. It's just, it turns out that we thought we had a handle on it. We thought if we had enough antioxidants and if we just could, do the right regimes.
It's actually funny that we just liked having the knowledge. Even if we just had it, it didn't mean we were going to use it.
You just like to know that the blueberries are a superfood.
You're just like, the information that I needed is that a healthy workout regime is good for me.
But some people absolutely do it. Like they live every moment.
But I wouldn't say America
for their health
is defined by its fitness. It is in parts.
No, but obsessed with it is not the same thing.
That's true.
And it is obsessed with it.
So much that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just... But on the bright side, it's just time to...
God's in his heaven.
And the other thing is, God is in his heaven. This is the moment in history that he called you to. This is the moment he called us to. It's the moment he called our children to grow up in. It's the moment that he has good works for us in.
Yep.
And given that, we need to just embrace that reality and thank the Lord for it and soldier on. Even if we're having to soldier on a little awkwardly with too much thought. That's what I feel.
Well, and I do think, especially, for yourself, but also the kids. I feel like kids growing up in this is a very defining kind of moment. And I think it's really important to just think through what your kids are going to take away from this. Because remember, like the generation that was our granddad, they lived through the Depression and the wars and, everything. But I feel like you could either come out of, like, being a kid during the Depression, you could either come out of that with an incredible work ethic, with an ability to make something out of nothing. You could come out with that, or you could have come out sour, stingy, miserly, and
entitled.
Or not entitled maybe, but just like you could have a clenched fist on everything.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I think that people right now we have a monumental problem with feeling entitled to things.
That's the thing. I wouldn't
entitled
have thought
to our rest. No, I meant you could see people thinking I deserved something different than what I got.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but
now I think people think we deserve what we've already been given.
Yeah.
And that having it taken away is like a crime against our human rights.
Right.
When it's like, you don't actually have any human right to Netflix.
Right.
You don't have a human right to,
even toilet paper, as much as
nice
I like
house.
To hope that we do, but,
Yeah, it's just, we don't have a right to those things. And the things that people...
Think about, like, somebody... granddad's age, coming out of the Depression, you could either be open-handed and generous and ready to give to people in need, or you could come out stingy and miserly. And think about your children, or you could either come out of this thing as a total fear monster, or you could come out of it brave.
Exactly.
And which one would you rather have your children... Which direction would you rather have them go? And then how are you going to steer them that way so that they come out of this with the virtues that could be born of this time rather than all of the very obvious vices? Like, do you want them to be tattletale-y, bossy bullies in the grocery store aisles, or...
Really looking forward to raising up some nuisances. Did you know this? This is so bad. This is one of the things that takes your breath away about the decline of public events in Moscow. That Rosars has a big sign that says, by proclamation. You have to wear a mask. By proclamation.
Does it say, hear ye, hear ye?
Well, it should, but the funny part is nothing happened by proclamation. And also, it's not even true that that's what the order says.
No,
so it's just ridiculous. It's like, we can't read closely. But this is the part that really knocks your socks off. People who have medical reasons that they should not wear a mask.
Yeah.
For the most part, we're just ignoring that those people exist, right? If someone's not wearing a mask, far from assuming there might be a good reason,
right? People
just are like, that's who we need to shame.
Yeah.
Rosars is sidestepping this problem by having people wear a sign around their neck saying they're disabled.
No, they're not.
They are. If you're not wearing a mask. Hang a placard. Hang yourself a placard around your neck.
No.
Proclaiming to people that you are deaf or you have a medical problem. I mean, like, can you even?
Oh, heaven.
To me, that is just unbelievable. Like, I did not think I would live to see the day where we swerved so hard from the side where we were all like, don't call them disabled, call them differently abled, and don't, like, to be like, put a sign around your neck proclaiming it to others.
My gracious.
And I'm sure someone thought to do that to keep people from hounding the disabled people.
Yeah.
But the fact that we have created an environment where people might go might go hounding a deaf person for not wearing, I mean, like,
oh yeah.
Unreal, guys.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. It's quite a little
I find it
time
pretty,
and a half.
I find it pretty, like, never in my life have I been so tempted to avail myself of Yelp. I'm like, well, you know what? I have a negative review to leave here.
I'm off her keyboard.
I've withheld myself from doing any Yelp reviews of local practices that I despise, but, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about getting involved there.
Oh, it is a time. I really, every
it's totally schizophrenic. That's the thing that's
wild.
Like, we just do not have a grip on what we're looking for here.
You think that we've come to the end of the embarrassing things we're up to. No. It went worse.
Fresh new layers coming soon.
Did you see that, Chummy has said we should wear goggles now?
Like,
Ben was joking about, no, we're just going to insist and be shocked at everyone else for not having done this first, but NSA should really insist that we are all going to just glue our noses shut. And and we're really embarrassed at the rest of you who haven't done it too.
Well, maybe we could just wear the swimming nose pinchers. the little blue plastic clip on your nose.
I like the idea of just saying, no, we have taken precautions.
Get going with super glue now.
We have glued our nostrils shut.
This sounds like a good thing for Trump to admonish people to do next. Didn't he? He already had a good round with the hydrochloroquine or whatever. Should get on it with super glue up your noses.
Maybe he could tell everyone to stop immediately super gluing their noses. I think that would be good.
Yeah. Just a plastic clamp, and we'll just take a minute to get used to our new voices through our masks.
If you could have your nose pinched and a muffly something over your mouth,
just the pits out here right now, but
it is what God has planned for us.
Yeah, and the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Even when it is a country that you love, a friendly town that you've lived in your whole life that is becoming a weird bastion of ugliness, like when the Lord takes that away, blessed be his name. Like, this is the place he called us to, this is the time he called us to, and he certainly didn't call us here to be mad and testy and fruitless.
No, but that is the worst, I think. The worst reaction possible, and it's what's creating this whole big trouble, really. I mean, I realize there's a virus, but that's not what's causing the trouble. It's everybody's toots that they've gotten on.
Yeah, it turns out we're not on our best behavior as a country right now, but
and it's really like, pray for repentance.
I know.
And because you kind of think like, what was that movie we used to watch as a kid? There was some movie where the bad guy must have been a Western, because there was a gunfight somewhere involving the bad guy at the very end gets shot. And it takes him a long time to make it down. It's this very dramatic.
I'm talking about Silverado. It's the way Cobb dies in Silverado.
Yes, that's what it is. And what it is. And it's like, stagger.
A little lower on the one elbow.
To the knees. To the elbow. To the I feel like, if God is humbling us, I feel like we're behaving like Cobb and Silverado.
Not quite dead yet. It's gonna take a little more.
It's like, you're gonna have to try harder, God, to knock us down. And I would prefer it if he didn't.
I think the Lord is. I think that there is a lot more coming our way that we've already kicked off. Like, we haven't even gotten to the phase where people are all being evicted for not paying their rent, for not having jobs, like running out. I'm like, so far we haven't even hit that. And really funny, in our own little local area, because we're college towns, Washington State is more uptight than Idaho, and the governor is. And Moscow just seems to desire to be like Washington State, but Idaho is not there exactly. Anyways, Washington State University canceled all their classes, but all they did is cancel all the classes for all the students that are nonetheless returning because they have leases.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, where did everybody think they were going to live? I mean, like, that's the thing.
I'm sure a lot of them would stay home, but yes, if you've signed a lease.
But I never understood that anyways. Like, send them all home from school, because you're just putting the people in another basket.
Yeah.
Like, one way or another, they're going to still be somewhere.
Yep.
Anyways. Yep. The point is, we don't know what we're about here locally. I
think there's a lot of people with not very good understanding of basic principles. So, there's a Christian feminist lady who I've interacted with before, but she was proclaiming, that what we needed to do was stay home and the government pay us all to stay home. That's all we needed to do.
That's a truth universally acknowledged, that there is actually a paycheck coming to all of us. From who, though? Like, who are the taxpayers in that situation?
Well, I think there's some people who are like, well, they can just print more, can't they? You know?
And that's, ladies and gentlemen, that we got ourselves back to, like, I remember thinking it was amazing in the time. Wasn't it in the Reformation time when, like, or it was in Holland at some point where tulip bulbs were like money?
Yeah.
And I was like, we could treat ourselves to a whole new kind of commerce by doing that.
Wasn't there a stretch in the, like, in Soviet Russia? Maybe I'm making this up, but honey was, because it was hard because of the stinging bees. It was kind of harder to go snatch it away from people. So you could do that. Anyway,
interesting.
People are having to get creative.
The point is that it's funny how just a basic understanding of, like, cause and effect, kind of. Like, that's what I meant by entitled. People think we're so entitled to a life that actually had to be paid for. By some means.
Well, I think that there's this when you don't believe in God, then we are clearly at the top of the food chain. And I think people feel like we also have the power to just, you know, creatio ex nihilo is a thing we can do. We can just proclaim that we're going to have more money.
Dad said something about this, and I thought this was an incredibly insightful piece of news. Is that, you know, if you accept evolution and you accept, like, there is a deep pagan truth, by truth I am using scare quotes on truth, which is that order comes out of chaos.
Yeah.
And that, so if you don't like the current order, if you just create a ton of chaos, order will spring out. A new order will spring out.
That is the worldview of the Romantics, because they felt like the phoenix will rise from the ashes, but what we've got to do first is burn down society,
so
and
that
then
the phoenix can rise.
Yeah, because, that's the line in Shelley's Ode to the West Wind, is he says at the end, like, "Oh wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind?" So his whole goal is to bring the winter, bring the death, bring the, you know, because that's when spring will come. And it's it's a click off from Christian death and resurrection, but it's the difference that makes
a big difference.
All the difference, because it is like he is going for death and resurrection, but it's a Christless death and
it isn't at the same time, because they're anchoring their belief in, like, the natural, like even to use winter and spring as an illustration, is that they think that there's some necessity of life doing that rather than God doing that, rather than it pleasing God to bring.
But this is why they were so pro-revolution, because it's like, let's burn down France.
It's not just why they were, it's why current people are also, because and that's one of the things that is amazing. And Christian women, who's listening to us anyways right now, Christian women are all getting on that romantic bus about stuff like, when you have had a friend who starts posting, say, Black Lives Matter stuff, or things that are just really morally corrupt in there, and they don't actually think it matters that it is, because there's a problem here. So driving it into the ground will cause some kind of a resurrection. Yep. It's a deep belief in a pagan archetype rather than a Christian one. So when they're like, well, don't you think there's a problem? Like, they're just kind of, I'll put my oar in with trying to get rid of this problem using ungodly methods, because I actually believe in a different religion.
Right. And Christians should always be about reformation and not about sort of a secular revolutionary spirit, which is, let's destroy everything and then something great will happen.
Right, like Christians who maybe even opposed the Russian system, right? Who maybe even thought the Tsar was not doing a great job, or maybe thought things should change in Russia. No matter how bad you thought the current system is, Christians should have been in favor of massacring the royal family and taking, like no Christian should have been part of that revolution. No Christian should have been part of cheering while they cut the heads off of aristocrats. No Christian should be in favor of rioting in cities right now, stealing from people. But a ton of Christians don't know how to, like, they just get stuck on the thing, well, aren't we opposed to racism, or shouldn't this end?
Yeah.
And they don't have any category of, like, Christian life and thought that means you can oppose something and still behave like a Christian about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And often it's going to take quite a lot more bravery to oppose it like a Christian than to oppose it like everybody else.
I want to say this is not directly COVID related, but it sort of is, and I just want to, this is a great thing for Christian women to be thinking about. Before such a crisis as COVID, it's really common to draw all these dividing lines and to always be all about which Christians you're not on the same page with, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I think of this is like Rosaria, who gets just absolutely attacked all over the place. And someone was asking me recently what I thought of her book, The Gospel Comes with a House Key. And I didn't love it. I want to go back and qualify that. I really like Rosaria. Like, I think she's wonderful. And I think it's great that God had that like, this is a lost art. It is a lost art to be able to read a book by someone that you think has blind spots or is funny and be completely edified and love them and differ with some things without it actually being the thing that you're like either you're fighting it or you're, like, being willing to be part of the body of Christ with a really diverse group of people.
Well, yeah.
And this is a really interesting time where the Lord is shaking up our church system so hugely. Even He's shaken up everything so hugely. But even churches, and like there being new kinds of unity between churches that have like we're forging different connections to different groups of people. And this is just a really important time, I think, for Christians to be totally tuned into God's purposes, what God is doing, and not try to be like, keep trying to get in the master and commander seat of how this is all going to go. This is time to recognize that we have a lot in common with faithful, courageous Southern Baptist churches. And we have a lot, obviously, there's a lot we don't agree with them on, but it's like, but these are still our people who are standing with Christ in this time.
This is not the time to be like, well, at least I'm not like those awful home birthers. Like where it's sort of like, how people can draw team lines over anything at all?
Oh, my word.
Anything.
So much that.
And I do think it's been healthy to see some of that fade away, because it's like,
do we really have time to talk about this right now? I don't think we really have time to talk about it.
Turns out that your birthing plan is not as close to the center of the gospel as I pretended it was.
Or your, whatever little nitpicky items it is. It's just, it's not the time for that. It's the time for a deeper kind of unity. So, Beck, do you have any tips? Wrap up our episode
actually. I had
tip?
some really good tips, but what they were is another question. What about you?
Didn't I have a tip in the last episode that we ditched?
Yep.
I don't think I've said it then.
What was it?
The cleaner that's Dawn dish soap and vinegar.
Okay.
If you mix those and microwave it together, although I'm not confident that you have to microwave it, but that's what I saw the first time. I don't know what it would really, why that matters. Yeah. But do that if you feel like that step is pivotal. Then put it in those little dish scrubbers where you put the soap in the handle.
Oh, yeah.
Keep it in your shower, because you can just scrub your shower down while you're in there.
That's a very clever clogs idea.
It doesn't, because it's just dish soap and vinegar, it's not like you're going to be like, soft scrubbing your ankles.
in bleach.
Yeah, but it actually works really well. And the scrubby brush part of it totally works. And it's like not an effort to do.
Do you do it every time you're in there?
No.
But just sometimes.
Just sometimes if you feel like it's time to have scrubbed a wall of the shower.
Just keep it in there. And
keep it in there, and it keeps it tidy, and it's really easier than other things.
Yeah, and I guess if you're listening to your audio Bible at the same
time.
time.
What are you not getting done at that point?
You could really
You're getting so many things done.
I don't, to be clear, I don't listen to my audio Bible in the shower. I'm just saying, think of all the things you could be doing.
I do sometimes.
You could be doing some kind of deep conditioner treatment on your hair, listening to your Bible, and cleaning your tub all at the same time.
And if you mix up some of this stuff, you can put it in your bathroom to refill it in one of the dish soap squirties, because you can easily refill your scrub brush.
I like it. But I have a question about that.
Go for that. Ask me.
So, I'm picturing myself standing there with the brush scrubbing the wall. The handle is down and the brush is up. So, is it not really releasing the cleaner very well at that point? Or, do you run into that as an issue?
Because if you point it down for a minute and push the pump thing, you can get quite a bit of it into the sponge part of it.
I feel like, is it a sponge?
It's are you thinking of brush? No, it's the sponge with the scratchy top.
That makes way more sense.
So it's like, I use the one that is the green.
Yeah,
maybe there's a blue one too. I have a couple of them where it's like a sponge and then a green scratchy scrub on the top.
Yeah. I had a bristle one, and I really, just for dishes, and I really didn't like it because you'd sit there and push the button over and over.
Use the sponge edition. One of my other hot tips is that I often put Moses on that job. I'm like, you need to clean my shower, so take a shower, and he'll be in there for days with a scrub brush. I mean,
so everything from like 4 feet down is nice and sparkly.
I don't really do that because I need the shower clean. I'm saying it's a great opportunity to kill time in the shower.
A sponge to...
Well, with little kids, sometimes they have that. You need to help them break out of whatever mood they got in. And sometimes it's like, what you need is some privacy. Like, you need to be in a new world for a minute. And that's a good way of doing that.
Yeah.
These are all my tips.
That's a good
Every
tip.
tip I have,
That's a good one.
I've given to you.
Yeah. No, I think you have, actually. I think you've done that.
I had another one that I thought of recently, and I was like, that should be the tip I give. But
you know what? I have a product recommend. It's random, but I like it a lot. It's a Dermatologica is the brand, and it's called like a antioxidant hydra mist or something like that. But it's like a misty bottle, and you just spray it like on your face after you wash your face, but before you put your moisturizer on, and it is really nice. I really like it. It's like, it sort of makes your skin feel really sort of tighter or something. It's a really interesting, probably if you were 18, you don't want that. But I just mean, like, it actually liked it enough that I bought a small travel size one to throw in my bag. Oh, gosh, this is my grievance. We've passed the tips. We're on to the grievances, and then we'll leave. Yeah,
it's a new feature. After the tips, we're going to say, do you have any grievances?
Yeah, here it is.
I already got mine all out in the episode.
We did. This whole episode is a grievance time. But, no, we were on our trip. Okay, the first piece is that I had just gone and bought myself a whole bunch of new products that I was out of, like hair products, whatever, face wash. I bought new ones, and you know how that's an expenditure right there. If you have to buy more than one at the same time, it's a thing.
Big cost
and
has come your way.
And I just had done that, and then the first thing I did was I bought a little sample size for really expensive, but it was like a set of shampoo, conditioner, or whatever. Like, it was a small hair set, but it was travel sizes, and it was a brand I hadn't gotten before. So I was like, you know what? I'll do that, because then I can try it out while I'm on this trip. Well, the first thing I do is I leave that in the first hotel. So I have used one use out of those and then left the whole set in the shower. So I did that. But we were checking our bags because we were taking a bottle of wine as a gift to some people. And so I was like, oh, well, that's handy. I just will throw all my new products in because we're checking the bags, and some of it is like aerosol or something, you know, so you can't really decant it. So there it is. We, in Atlanta, a meeting went long. We're really tight getting to the airport. Then we have to sprint through the airport. Dead sprint with masks on our faces. And I'll tell you, that's just the worst. So anyway, we get up there, and the guy was a little grouchy because Ben took his mask down to tell him something because he wasn't understanding Ben. So Ben took his mask down so he could see or, you know, understand.
Yeah.
And then he said, you have to put your mask back on, sir. So I think he was out of charity with us anyway. And then he told us it was just too late. He couldn't check the bags. I think if he'd had more of a will to win, he could have, but he didn't.
Right.
So then we have to take our bags to security, and we have to throw away a really lovely bottle of wine and all of my brand new
Hey,
hair products.
Becca, I'd like to answer your grievance with the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And next time, think ahead and use travel size
That's my
bottles,
tip.
Becca.
You
travel
know what?
size.
Just decant.
Yeah.
Just be on the safe side. And then once you've done that, don't leave them in the hotel shower.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Until next time, we will try to come back with an interesting spirit soon.
And we'll try and talk about things besides viruses of the body and the spirit next time.
Spirit virus.
Well, that's what it is.
Spirit virus 101.
I think it's way more contagious than corona, and it's far more damaging, really, I think. Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.